Okay, so I just asked Bee, when you're starting out doing composting, you can get very disheartened when things don't go as planned, and you can get a bit down in the dumps about it. So how have you coped with,
Plenty of those times. Yeah, some days your property looks wonderful, and other times it looks not so great, and you think, why am I doing all this work? What am I doing wrong? Anyway, we used to try and grow cauliflowers, and they would be the size of golf balls. They were really terrible, and as we added compost, they got sort of bigger, and as we added really good compost, they got to full-size cauliflowers, which is what we can grow today. Hooray! And the best thing I like about when you have improved the soil is the way the water goes into it and doesn't run off. That's really so great, because our veggie garden, we need to water that. This morning we turned on those sprinklers. We only do that once a week.
Wow.
Whereas places we haven't improved very well, we're hosing every day for 8 hours. So that's handheld hose, because you can run a sprinkler all night, and in the morning that part the soil and it'll be dry underneath. 2 millimetres down, it might be wet for 2 millimetres, then it's dust. That's how terrible the soil is. Its carbon is 0.5% now. When white man came to Australia, the average across Australia was 8% carbon, and it's now 0.5% on farms.
Wow.
We've lost all that carbon. It's in the atmosphere, and that is what climate change is all about. It's about deforestation and agriculture, not so much about fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, of course, is a factor, but it's a small factor compared to agriculture and removing forests. So if we can get the soil functioning, human beings are emitting, and it's not stopping, 38 gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere every year. Organic farms, if every farm in the world was under organic management, the total revolution to that, we would absorb 37 tonnes of the 38 that we cause every year from burning fossil fuels. So that's absolutely fantastic. That's what soil can do for us. And that's a very conservative figure. That's working on the Rodale Institute's 30-year trial, farming systems trial, and they found and measured that an acre of organic managed, just conservative organic managed soil absorbs 7 tonnes per acre of CO2. Or is it C? Don't worry, I remember the bottom line. It's we can absorb most of the emissions of carbon dioxide that we make into the atmosphere every year through our soil, and of course forests absorb heat. And we just need to get those forests back, or stop cutting them down, or both, to get our planet's climate stabilised again. And back to the question, what was it?
How do you cope with
bad soil to a good soil?
Or how do you cope with getting disheartened with compost heaps? Like, how many compost heaps have you done over the years to get to where you are now? Knowing what to do?
10 before we got a good fungal one.
Yep.
That's only 10 since we've done Elaine Ingham's course.
Yep.
We went into a composting frenzy, and each one was a cubic metre, which is a tonne of stuff that we had to turn every day, every morning. And Stuart made one that was really over too much nitrogen. He ended up having to turn it twice a day for about 14 days before it stopped. And he lost it. It did go over, so it's not much good anyway. So that was, yeah, it can be very disheartening in the beginning when you go organic. If you were doing conventional and your plants have been on life support with expensive inputs from you, and they're reliant on that, when you stop them, of course your plants are going to look terrible. You've just cut their life support. It may be 3 years before the soil starts functioning again and can support those plants without any inputs. So 3 years is a long time. A lot of people are in debt and they can't afford to play around, as they say. This is what the farmers say. So if we can show that a compost tea can be put on to support those plants, I think a lot more people will find it attractive to go organic, because you really do get off that chemical treadmill.
And cost over time would be a lot less.
Yeah. Well, you only need 2 litres of good quality compost to make enough spray to make 10 acres to cover 10 acres to
Wow.
make the plants grow better over that 10 acres. So that's nothing, and it's not much work really. You need to find the right time to do it, the right weather conditions, and you need warm and wet, and this is becoming so difficult because we really don't have spring and autumn anymore. We only have summer and winter. We go from freezing cold and wet to boiling hot and dry. The long, spring and autumn we used to enjoy, and we didn't even appreciate at the time how great it was, although as gardeners will always appreciate. That was the time when earthworms were crawling around on top of the ground in the daytime because it was just, raining and sunny and raining, alternating throughout the day. And the growth was fantastic. And the photos from those days show I was growing the English cottage plants beautifully and no problem at all. We grew sunflowers that just dropped on a path 12 foot high. Stuart couldn't reach them, and they were this big. Now the same seed, the same type of seed, we can plant it at optimal time and water it, and we get them this high and this big. And I can show you some if you want to see them. They're flowering now and they're pathetic. They're Russian giants, but they're not giants. So yeah, climate change is really huge, and it is depressing, very depressing and hard at times when you start with a really bad soil and building it into a better soil. It does take 3 years. I don't know if we can make any shortcuts on that, but it is totally worth it because once you get there, it's self-sustaining. As far as I know, it will last for, those benefits will be at least 30 years because I've had vegetable gardens that have become forests now of custard apples and stone pines, macadamias. Basically the garden's been shaded out, but you can still water that and the soil accepts the water. It soaks in, becomes wet. I could hack back a bit of perennials trees and grow veggies there with no problem at all. It's pioneer plants are very important when you're up against it. It's got really crappy dirt, maybe it's really dry. Pioneer plants can survive, and they come from places like Canary Islands where the rainfall is 0 for the year.
Wow.
They're Tagasasti, and they feed animals beautifully. They're nitrogen fixing, fast growing, they create shade, humidity and animal fodder. What more could you want? There's only one little drawback, that's sticks of, on the trailer there is sticks of Tagasasti. We feed the pigs it every night, and the Tagasasti unfortunately is very hard on chainsaws and probably chipper blades. Very hard wood, so it blunts your chainsaw. But that's the only drawback, and that's not a lot of
It's
drawback.
pretty versatile.
Yeah, and you can use those sticks in hugelkultures or rocket stoves. You can lie them across the contour of the land, put some stakes and put bunches of sticks between the stakes, and you've got yourself a bit of a speed bump for water. So a build-up of things will come. If you ever have a flood, these will be really great because they'll stop the water going down so much. It will be having forced to go down instead of across the land. And that's what swales are for. They're really good. Terracing is good. Any way to get the rainfall to actually go in and not off. Because you get to the point where you can get deserts which have quite good rainfall, but there's no water getting into the soil. It's bare and dry. I think we're slipping into desert here, and we're trying very hard to hold back that from happening. So yeah, good luck to us. Glad I put the trees in 30 years ago, and I think we should just, if you can still grow trees, do it. Do it now.
Oh, thank you.